in Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to respecting intellectual property rights, or any sort of rights for that matter. You are the chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Reprographic Rights Organization. Have you been able to make any headway? In fact, what do you do in relation to these particular issues discussed by Mr. Stockmore?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that we have a difficulty with respecting property in Trinidad and Tobago, both tangible and intangible. And it seems my life was tailor-made for this kind of thing, because the two areas that I'm involved in professionally are agriculture and the knowledge economy. Yeah. And in agriculture, as you'd appreciate, pre-deal larceny is seen as something, you know,
as almost normal.
As almost normal. And so much so that you now have special squads in the police service to deal with pre-deal larceny, as if it's not really thieving, it's just something on the side. In the same way, there's an enforcement unit of the police service that's supposed to protect intellectual property as well. There again, you have a specialized unit, because it's not really thieving, it's just, you know, taking a little copy here, a little copy there. So that our organization, which was incorporated in 2003, is meant to be part of this so-called knowledge economy that we're building. I left a fairly cushy job at the university to take up this challenge as being part of this knowledge economy, and there's no protection. Your works are being copied willy-nilly and for economic gain. Just
for the purpose of clarification, because I'm glad you made that issue of economic gain. If someone, for example, is making a photocopy of a past paper at exam, so because they can't get the actual book itself and would have no choice but to photocopy it from someone else, is that a violation of the law?
If it's not available from the C-SAC, and if C-SAC has given permission to do so, of course it's not a violation of the law. But again, it has to do with respect of people's property. The thing is that no one is against photocopying, and there's a perception that we are against photocopying. Of course you're allowed to photocopy. You're allowed to photocopy bits of a book that you purchased for yourself. The libraries are allowed to photocopy bits for archiving, etc. But we're talking about economic gain, and it's difficult to make that distinction sometimes. If we go back to the agriculture analogy, if you have one mango tree in your yard and people pass in and pick a mango or two, I mean, although it's still stealing, and they should really ask you, people tend to be easier on that than if you had an orchard and a guy pulls up with a pickup, shake down all your mango trees, damage them, and drive off, you know, for economic gain. Yeah. And I think it's a matter of scale and scope and intent. And that is what the law addresses quite strenuously in terms of identifying what areas of archiving, of reproducing, that you need a license for.
You say the situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Maximay, because again, we know the culture in TNT. People, even the music, they sample music from established music all over, and people see nothing wrong with that. Are you fighting a losing battle?
I don't think so. I mean, I've staked the rest of my career on it, on the fact that we are going to have a knowledge-based economy, that we are going to respect intellectual property. I was a member of the cabinet-appointed committee that drafted the intellectual property policy for the country, which is yet to be fully enforced, as you would appreciate. But what is striking is that the current Prime Minister was once Minister of Legal Affairs, and fought strenuously for these things. I mean, I remember part of the campaigns mounted during her reign as Minister of Legal Affairs. So that academics and politicians have been saying for years that this is the way forward for the country, that we need to have a knowledge-based economy, that our intellectual power is what is going to separate us from the rest of the world. We keep taunting that we are TRIPS compliance, TRIPS being the trade-related intellectual property rights, so that every single business person looking at this should be thinking, you know, how am I going to be competitive? We've brought Professor Michael Porter, we had all these fancy seminars on competitiveness. How can you be competitive worldwide if you live in a country that is not respecting intellectual property and intellectual property rights? Your foreign direct investment, I mean, your world trading, everything is on the balance here. And I think it would be hilarious if it wasn't so serious.
Mr. Stockmore, because again, it's all well and good to work toward, you say you're dedicating the rest of your working life towards achieving that objective. Some will say you're dedicating the rest of your life to frustration.
No, they said that when I started a career in agriculture as well. So I know that.
So you're accustomed to being frustrated?
I'm accustomed to being frustrated, or being into industries where there's a lack of respect for the output. And I'm saying this in the same sense. I mean, I hate to beat the agriculture analogy to that, but I think it's easier to comprehend when you think of tangible property. The fact that somebody can steal your work you know, the benefits of your labor, you know, that to me is significant. And I don't think that we are fighting a losing battle. I think we are going through a process. We have a process, there are a series of activities you have to do before you get to litigation.
Yes.
So basically what we are doing is we are making sure that we are informing the public. We had a seminar last October. I've been on the, you know, doing the talk show route, so that the ignorance of the law, or the ignorance of what they're doing, will no longer apply. So